If I could have your attention, please. May I have your attention, please? Thank you. I just want to let you know that we have had some car problems with some family members, and so we're going to wait to start the service until all the family has gathered. So I just invite you to enjoy this wonderful music. Get up, enjoy the displays over here, continue to visit and talk, and when the family has arrived, then we will begin this service. And thank you so much for coming. It's such a joy to see all of you here. Thank you.
So, I don't know if I ever met Dylan. I went with Hannah in South Eugene somewhere, and I think I may have met a lot of you guys. What's that? Closer. Okay. Anyway, I saw the post that Dylan had died, and saw that picture that of him in the desert, and it just really touched me because last year I had a lot of people die in my life that were really important to me, not least of all the father of my 6 grandchildren, and also another friend that I had known since I was like 17. And you just don't know all the people that are like important or inspirational in your life. Anyway, like I say, I don't know if I even met Dylan, but it really touched me. And I was looking at that picture even before the poster was made. And I have to say kudos to the artist who put together that poster. It's really pretty awesome. Anyway, I just went outside and was looking at the moon and just crying, just for all the people that I've lost. And I know a lot of you guys have lost people too that you love. Parents and good friends. And I have too, people I've lived with, played music with, done art with, lived with, went to rainbow gatherings with, and lots of stuff. Anyway, so I wrote this song before I saw that poster. It was kind of and I'm not a performer, guys. I'm just, should probably talk less and see if I can get through this. It's okay, guys. I'm not Elvis or anything, Okay. Feeling sad looking out at the full moon. Dylan, brother, you left too soon. The world seems darker without you, the man in tattoos. In the hot desert on his knees, dark sunglasses shield him from what he sees. Sometimes the truth can overwhelm you, the man in tattoos. You were a light and inspiration with your art, your music, and revelations. But we have a lot of questions. Why the sensitive soul left die and leave us here to cry? The man in tattoos. The man in tattoos. The man in tattoos. Thanks, guys.
John, 20 more seconds to visit, but if you could slowly begin taking your seats for me, that would be great. All right. Well, thank you so much for your patience, but even more importantly, your presence. My name is Pastor Zane Ridings, and alongside of my co-pastor, Reverend April Oristano, we're so happy that we could host this celebration of life here. And in this past hour, seeing the way that you visit and hug has been a blessing for us here at the church. A couple brief housekeeping things. Many of you have probably figured out by now, but the restrooms are outside this door. And if you need water or anything else, there's a pitcher available down that hallway. But shortly after the start of the service, I'll be available near the back if you need any kind of assistance. Or if you'd like to speak to someone about your grief or your joy, because that is what we're doing here together, is celebrating Dylan's life and recognizing our emotions. So I will now hand this service over to Reverend Elaine Andres. And if you need a tissue, do not be afraid to raise a hand or something, and we'll get one to you. Thank you.
So, I'm going to just invite you all to take a deep breath. And as you breathe in love. As you exhale, breathe into love. Just take 2 or 3 deep breaths as you center yourself in the presence of love. Zane has already welcomed you, and I want to also welcome you as well. Thank you for coming in person and for joining us online. Gathering in community is one way that we mark important events. Family and friends are coming together today to support each other, to hold each other with compassion, kindness, and respect. This is a space where your grief is safe. Your tears and your joys are welcome, as this community holds each of you wherever you find yourself today. This is a time to acknowledge the life and legacy of Dylan Mark Peterson. It's also a time to support one another, to tell stories, and to celebrate the man that he was. Please join me in some prayer. Loving kindness, God, life, thank you for being present as we gather to honor Dylan. Thank you for his family and this community that he was a part of. Thank you for this time to feel, to grieve, to celebrate. Grant us the ability to rest into a place of peace that comforts us as we listen to the words of the Serenity Prayer. Give us the grace to accept serenity, the things that cannot be changed, the courage to change the things which can be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. Amen. Dylan Mark Peterson was born on September 9th, 1983, in Portland, Oregon, to Lorna Peterson and Michael Kiersey. He passed from this life March 24th in Oakland, California. He is preceded in death by his mother, Lorna, his maternal grandmother, Pat Buckles, and his other grandparents. He's survived by his father, Michael Kiersey, and his wife, Leslie, his sister and brother, Rose, and Weston Kiersey, as well as other family members. As his mother fulfilled her teaching degree, they lived in several places in California before moving to Topanga Canyon, California. While living there, Dylan began his musical career with one of his music mentors, Richie Hayward, a neighbor and a drummer with the Little Feat Band. In 1994, they moved to Ashland, Oregon, where his mother taught, and Dylan attended elementary, middle school, and started high school. It was there where he excelled in athletics, academics, the cello, violin, and acoustic bass. During his sophomore year, they moved to Eugene, Oregon, where he then attended Churchill High School, graduating in 2002. He became an important part of the music scene as a DJ and a producer in the Eugene and Portland areas. He performed under the name Tiger Fresh. I take it some of you have heard of him. He launched his DJ career in a duo called Sports Cars with Michael Wright. And he later collaborated with Jeremy Graybill. You have to wait till I tell you the project. They collaborated on a project called Hood Prisms. He was most well known for his music production and mixes. One of his most popular tunes was his remix of Angel Olsen's track, Sweet Dreams, which had over 40,000 plays on SoundCloud. He continued to collaborate with many other artists throughout his career and became one of the lead members of the We've Got This record label, which had a major impact on the West Coast bass music community. He moved to Portland, Oregon, and attended Portland State University, majoring in graphic design. His design company, Dilkins Design, created logos for numerous artists, bands, and record labels. In 2013, Dylan moved to the Bay Area and continued working as a graphic designer and a DJ. He became a self-taught tattoo artist and later worked at One Shot Tattoo in San Francisco, developing a unique style of flash tattooing. It was at this time that he rebranded as Dylan DeMarcus, consolidating his art, music, talent under one name. He was a devoted reader and an avid writer throughout his life, working extensively in the areas of self-improvement and self-empowerment. His online posts were articulate, and his writing style was unique. He was all about health, wellness, and personal development. And he was able to communicate about these topics in a very raw and real way. This interest eventually led him to launch his own podcast series called The Dynamic Creative, which addressed spirituality, being an artist, and culturally provocative topics. Dylan inspired his community to live better lives and to think critically about society and the world that we live in. He will be remembered by his family and his friends for his talent, intelligence, his passion for health and wellness, his unique humor, and creative drive. Okay, if at this time we can have the slideshow and the music by Riva DeVito and Charlie Brown 3.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here to celebrate the life of Dylan Peterson. I'm Dylan's father, Michael. This is sister, Rose, brother, Weston, and this is their mother and my wife, Leslie. We all love Dylan very much. Dylan brought light and love to all of us, and today, as you leave this ceremony, we hope you share that light and love with your friends, your family, and all those you meet in the years to come. That would be Dylan's finest legacy. Thank you.
My name is Rose. I was Dylan's sister, and I just want to thank you all for being here today. He cared about each and every one of you, and it shows. And I know we're all really dealing with a lot of guilt around the way he passed. And I just want to say, please don't carry that weight. He wouldn't want that. If you're able to channel that into any way to make your community better, that's what he would have wanted, and that's the best way. I think that each and every one of you could honor him. I just love Dylan so much. He's my older brother. Dylan was around 10 years older than me, so it was just like this person you look up to, and it's just a really special person. We're all gonna miss him for that. It still is hard to believe, you know? And I just want to close with saying thank you to Joshua. And we can never repay you for this. And we couldn't have done this without you. Thank you so much. I love you, Dylan.
Thank you.
Oh, fuck yeah, baby. Oh, fuck yeah, baby. So, what can I say that hasn't been said already, of what you haven't seen? The most fucking awesome person in the whole entire world. He made everyone's life just awesome. Like, he is the crypt keeper is what I call him. We all can confide in everything and talk to him with compassion and let everything out in our heart. And know that he would hold that in his heart and not snitch or do anything and hold that in. And that's one of the things I loved about him, because he had a non-biased judgment, and he never would judge anybody based on anything. And he would look at every individual as a single person, wouldn't give a fuck what anybody said about anybody, and he would personally make relationships with everybody. And that's one of the true things we all know we love about Dylan. I'm not sure if anyone recognizes this, but yesterday was Lorna's birthday. So we give her a big rest in peace, because, you know, coming from an individual mother like myself and he did, no pun intended, I really bonded with Lorna. And so I think that's a really important aspect that I want to bring up, because we all know the memories I've had with him. But Lorna held a really special place in my heart, and I just saw the compassion that he had for his mother. And I had that at one point, and I would look up to her as a mother figure for myself when she moved down to Southern Oregon. And so I just wanted to give that aspect as well. And I just want to share a quote from Nostradamus. The body without a soul is no longer at a sacrifice. At the day of death, it comes to rebirth. Divine spirit will make the soul rejoice, seeing the eternal of the world. And I believe Dylan's out there with the stars where he belongs, because he wasn't from this earth, as we all know. I will miss all the time we talked about basketball and all the other things and all the endeavors that we had, and I thank him for all the creativity that he always gave me. And I hope he inspires everybody else out there to push forward to all your endeavors and your creativity and everything you're doing. Put that shit out there, because the man's work is ridiculous, and it's untouchable. I don't know what else to say, but I love you, Dylan, and I will hold your legacy strong forever in my heart. And I love you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. What do you really say about somebody that everybody doesn't already know? Dylan was truly, you truly don't know the influence of someone like him until they're gone. What a legacy really looks like. Dylan was the most intelligent, focused, and creative person I've ever met. It's hard not to think how he won't be around or that his life was cut short. But through his work ethic and values, he already lived 1,000 lives like while he was here. And he did more work in his time than most could ever accomplish. And there's something to be said about that. I spent years with him, and we spent a lot of time in Bali spearheading our fashion, aesthetic, and collective music style, and what we wanted to incorporate to inspire the community and the world beyond. We would head out for sunset or a night of dancing, and he'd be like, nah, fam, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay here and grind. He always found a way to make time for his creativity and for others, no matter what the scenario was. I always admired that type of dedication. This was part of his non-negotiable policy, his life motto, if you will. Exercise, creating, learning, and self-development were the building blocks of this policy. But he also made his feelings and own traumas non-negotiable, and it made it hard for him to deal with things. What he left behind was legendary, and his death was the ultimate sacrifice for all of us. Much of what I've created over the last 15 years has been reflective and a direct part of this amazing human. He truly inspired me, and we supported each other through everything. He was my other half, my brother, my teacher, my best friend. There's a story that so many of us know about him climbing silk ropes at a festival. I believe, a lot of people know the story, and I tell you the story because, everyone thought he was fine because he was always doing stunt moves. He was being him. But even himself, he still played it cool in that moment and didn't ask for help. He was always so composed and never asked for a thing from anyone while giving everything to those around him. He had this uncanny ability to always wing it and make it look easy. To the countless times of bringing a tent or bedding for him or picking up necessities for a long weekend of art and music with the homies, everybody always had his back in that sense. Have so many memories and experiences together, but they make me realize how much help he needed over the years in so many different ways. But they got in the way of his persona, the image, and the energy that he gave to everybody else. We all put a facade and a smile on our face every day to face this world and all its beauty, its evil, and all the challenges that it brings. And it's hard sometimes, and we all hurt, we are all perfectly flawed in our own way, and we all need support. Dylan and I were big hip-hop aficionados, and the Wu-Tang was very inspiring for both of us. We both have Wu symbols tattooed on us. There's a quote from RZA. When we neglect others out of superficial wisdom, fake respect, phony knowledge, we tell ourselves it's their life. We say it's not our responsibility. We don't want to get involved. Fuck that. Get involved, or we'll all feel the pain. Dylan will truly be immortalized through his art and the impact that he made. The goal isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will. You are a living legend, and we all know legends never die. I love you so much, Dylan.
Death is a part of the wheel of life that is always turning. It's not the final end, but rather a dissolution of one form and a transformation into new ones. So even when someone dies, their energy continues to be a part of the life force. Their spirit becomes a part of the great ocean of our human consciousness, and that is continually evolving and changing. There's more to this world that meets the eye, and I think we all know that. When someone dies suddenly, there's often no time for finishing business or saying goodbye, and I know that many of us are feeling shock and guilt, along with sadness and grief that may be more intense and long-lasting, since there was no time for us to process his death in advance. I want you all to know that there's always the possibility of healing your relationship and that unfinished business with someone you have lost, even if it is only in your memory. While death is a part of a natural cycle, so is grief. And there are many who believe that mourning and grief help provide the energy that the dead need to reach the dimensions of the other world, where healing and regeneration can take place. Grief is also a self-healing process. It helps us to eventually let go of our loved one and find the strength to continue on with our lives. It's not something that can be rushed. Some move through it more quickly and others more slowly. By honoring Dylan and talking about our memories of the times that we shared, we are helping with this process. Now, I would like to invoke the 4 directions and the energies of the elements as a prayer for our healing. I call to the east, the element of air, power of inspiration and ideas. We ask that you help us to let go of what should be forgotten and remember what should be remembered. Please bring us clarity of thought and vision to carry onward. Air, may you free Dylan's mind and carry his spirit gently to new heights. I call to the south, the element of fire, energy, and passion. Please give us the strength and drive to continue on. We call on the sacred flame to bring us purpose and passion for life. Fire, may you transform Dylan's body and release his soul. I call to the west, the element of water, of intuition and emotion. We call on tears, laughter, and trust in the healing process. We ask that you come and let us feel what we need to feel. Water, may you wash Dylan clean of pain, sorrow, and suffering. And I call to the north, the element of earth, the place that holds our ancestors' bones. We ask that you keep us steady, grounded, and nourished. Help us to take care of ourselves and others. Earth, may you receive Dylan and bring him peace. Dylan, may you be free. May you be strong. May you be proud of who you have been. Know that you will be mourned and missed, and that no one can replace you, and that you are loved. Blessed be.
I feel like I'm supposed to put his headphones on right now. Another time. Dylan had red hair for a while, right? Raise your hand if you remember when he shaved the front of it. So yeah, the first time I met him, I was in Ashland. This was probably about 2010, 2009, 2008, I don't know. And I walk into the co-op, and Gracie was in there. I knew Gracie from before, and she's with this guy with this like bozo cut hair, just kind of walking around all kind of aloof, and like I'm like neck tats. I'm like, who's this dude? You know, like it's kind of like he looks kind of loco. We ended up at a little mini party festival. The Bounce Brigade was playing. I knew Russ and Angela and Gracie. They kind of introduced me to Dylan. And then I'm like, okay, there's something about this guy, you know? And I started to witness his magnetic charm. Realizing that down the line that this is somebody that I wanted to get close with. I mean, he was like the epitome of cool. And I mean, don't lie to yourself. We all wanted to be next to him, hoping some of that would rub off on us. But when I got closer, I learned it was his way of being that was his gold, his open mind and his gift and kindness. Our history, with a group of us, we started a record label called We Got This. Dylan and I did tours together, West Coast tours, multiple harvests, sitting there at the trim table. We were roommates for 5 years in Oakland. And then he moved right down the street for me, which was his last residing home. Jay Lee was our roommate, Raquel. Okay. I was trying to go off the top, but it's a lot right now. More memories, all the developmental workshops we were in, travels across the world and back. 3 months ago, riding scooters through the jungle to jump off waterfalls. Lots of rad memories. My favorite memories was being his roommate and having him like right next door to me to go run ideas off of, to go clown, watch the game, let the Warriors win in his face, rub it in. I felt powerful around him, witnessing his discipline, inspirational chats, getting mega deep, hanging out in the sun on the deck, watching him do his Tai Chi and sitting there meditate in the sun. He was a brag-worthy dude. I love that guy so much. We spent years together in his last few years in self-development programs together. We were partners going to sit in these rooms, working on our authentic selves, our divine masculine, growing into men who could be unattached from our traumas and become guides for our people. Holding space from the heart and feeling safe in our vulnerability. Until Dylan's last days, while he was hurting, he was calling friends, asking for advice, while being a guide for their own greatness. Raise your hand if you've got some voice text recordings on your phone that you've been listening to. I mean, in Oakland, he was tattooing a lot of people. I've had multiple men come up to me crying, pulling me aside just to be like, there's been no one in my life that talks to me like Dylan does. He was a real one. And I know exactly what they're saying, man. I felt like almost selfish to be able to get so much attention and love from him. Just felt privileged. I felt like I could kind of secretly brag about that, being that close to him, because that's how much it meant to me, that gold. And I knew a lot of people wanted that from him at the same time. So being his roommate just like meant the world to me. In all this, I learned a lot about depression and how important it is to put everything aside and hold space for someone's pain. I didn't quite realize this yet. I recently did a program that Dylan turned me on to that tapped into divine masculine and feeling safe in my vulnerability, where we could, express our tears and hold space for people's feelings and emotions, and realizing how important those tools would be for someone in this scenario to you just don't see it coming, and it's just being present with that person, putting your hand on their heart and letting them be what their feels. Whatever that feel is, it's valid. Whether it's anger, as long as it's nonviolent, whether it's sorrow, and just sitting there with them and asking them, what does it feel like right now? How are you feeling? And just allow the space for them to dive into that emotion in a completely safe environment. If anybody wants to talk to me later, has questions, I'd love to talk with you about all this. Also, later, please acknowledge Jaylee and Angela. They put in a lot of hard work and this path to get to where we are today right now. I just want to sit up here forever and talk about Dylan because to get to the point, my best friend, a multifaceted guide, a warrior of peace, love, and brotherhood, a muse, a stunt man, a sought-after artist. We love you, Dylan. We forgive you, and we will forever be present in our paths. Thank you.
I left my guitar plugged in from the sound check earlier, and the battery went out. And so you know how it is, y'all production people. My name is Beryl. I'm going to put this microphone on the guitar. And Dylan was incredible. We were friends for 5 years. And wanted to share a quick story of something that maybe some of you didn't know, a moment that only I really got to witness. I was introduced to Dylan through Abo, my good buddy, and I was at some show and he was spinning, and I was totally enamored by his prowess, his savageness on the ones and twos. and just totally wanted to get to know him. And we were kind of friends from a distance because I would pop over and stay the night over at Jay Lee's house in the guest room. And so Dylan was always super friendly, greeted me with a warm smile and a dap. And we didn't really get to know each other very closely in that first year. But that was when he was, I'm pretty sure it was like his first year of sobriety. And I remember reading that article that he wrote on the first year, the 1 year sober, and going to festivals, and how incredible his words were. And it just made me even more interested and fascinated with him. You know, not only could he drop the craziest remix of, throw some D's on that with some hot, crazy trap thing behind it, but he was also a wordsmith and a very powerful creative force. So much to my pleasure, I was able to get to carpool with Dylan from Oakland out to this weekend workshop, which Spec just mentioned, called The Noble Man. And I was juiced because I was like, oh yeah, I'll get like 3 hours in the car with this guy. Like finally I'll get to like, you know, have some time with him, you know, because we're both busy and he's always busy and I'm always busy. And so we were able to connect, and we drove out to this beautiful hillside retreat in Temecula. And we experienced this 3-day weekend together where we both got a huge, big dose of love and wisdom, where we were in this group of men, and we were able to, there was one moment they put on this like tribal music and turned the lights down, and we all kind of like danced like in this crazy tribal way. And like, I'm sure a bunch of you have danced with Dylan in a tribal way, but it was like really impressive. Like shirts started coming off, and like it was like real, like masculine. Like there was an older guy who was there, and he actually got fully nude, but but then they told him to put his clothes, like put his pants back on, like. But he was like, it was like that. It was like you could go as deep as you wanted to, and me and Dylan were just like, it was like a whole moment. So. So then at the end of the weekend, you get to do your initiation. And there's about 60 people that are part of this workshop, participants, staff. Everybody makes a big circle. And when it's your turn to go, they basically put a piece of music on, and for those 3 or 4 minutes, you're free to do whatever you want to do, whatever you are called to do. Anything goes. And so it was really tender what Dylan did, because the music started, he got up, he walked to the center of the circle, and then he picked one of the older men who was a part of the group, and he brought him into the circle, and he picked 2 older women who were part of the group, brought them into the circle, maybe one other person. He pretty much just laid down in this guy's arms, this guy Stephen, and he just laid down. And all he wanted for people to do was like to put their hands on him. And I just think it's really important to remember that Dylan was this supersonically charged love battery, and he also had a really, really hard time receiving love. He had a really hard time with the receive of love, and that was what he chose to do in his initiation. He chose to take 5 minutes in a really vulnerable space and sit down on the ground and lay in the arms of a stranger and just receive love. And I got to witness it, and it was so beautiful. So even though he was so supercharged, I feel like this was a thing for him throughout his life. I don't think it was new. I think that what happened over the course of his life is that he always had this challenge with receiving love. And even though he was such a superhuman guy to give love, I think it's just really important for us to remember that this was something that he struggled with probably for a lot longer than the 5 years I knew him, that he eventually succumbed to an illness of the heart that is just like an illness, like a heart attack or a virus or a cancer, that it's not his fault and it's not who he was and it's not him. And I'm so grateful to be here with you guys to share with him, to share in him, to share his stories, and to send Dylan love. So this is a song I wrote, and little did I know, I recorded the song, or I wrote it on the 16th of March, I recorded on the 22nd, and I didn't know it would become such a tribute to him. Although I did think of him while I was writing it, it wasn't about him. It was just about my own search for love of myself. So this is called Sandcastles. Thank you, guys. If we don't make excuses, we could have everything we wanted. But the hardest one to believe in is waking up the parts that've been sleeping. No man is above this, not that I know. No one is above this, not that I know. So build it up, tear it down, so set in your ways now. There'll never be another one. You could never be replaced. No waves will erase these sandcastles we've been dreaming about since teenage. It's a race, more like a marathon. Gotta keep running along. Gotta keep running along. There's plenty of people who want the best for me. They give me love, they never ask for anything. But the one I wanna know clearer is the face staring back in the mirror. No one is above this, not that I know. Up early, break of dawn, no nightlight when the moon's gone. 6:30, kettles on, step outside, sunrise. No waves will erase these sandcastles I've been dreaming about since teenage. It's a race, more like a marathon. Gotta keep running along. No waves will erase these sandcastles I've been dreaming about since teenage. It's a race, more like a marathon. Gotta keep running along. Gotta keep running along, yeah. sandcastles we've been dreaming about since teenage. It's a race, more like a marathon. Gotta keep running along. No waves will erase all these sandcastles we've been dreaming about since teenage. It's a race.
Woo, that was beautiful, Beryl. Thank you. Woo. I'm filled with gratitude to see such a beautiful and strong and stylish community here gathered to celebrate our brother, Dylan. I'm honored for the opportunity to share my perspective on a person who inspired me, encouraged me, pushed me to be great, challenged me, and consoled me through some of the hardest obstacles that life has to offer. I first met Dylan at Burning Man. It was 2011. It was my first year. When we met, he had on a space-aged metallic visor and a matching purple outfit that I'm pretty sure he designed. The amount that he was sagging his pants while still being able to ride a bike was it was pretty incredible. And he kept sagging his pants till the end. It was early morning, and it was a night that I decided I was going to try to get some rest. This night of rest was very unsuccessful, though. I was arisen by a huge squad of kids from Oregon that I'd never met. A bunch of y'all are in this room. At first, I was a little annoyed that I wasn't going to keep sleeping, but I was amused and excited about the community and the antics that ensued for the next few hours. Dylan was there in full regalia, tip-top condition, and leading the pack. Tip-top. His words were definitely not coherent, and he kept falling out of this broken camping chair. But regardless, I knew that this was like the coolest dude that I had met all weekend. I had to become friends with him no matter what. As the years went on, we became really close, and we became creative partners. Most notably, Dylan was one of the first people in my life, along with some others in this room, that pushed me to pursue my goals of being a music producer. He didn't just offer inspiration and encouragement, though. He showed up with action. He was determined as fuck at whatever he did, anything creative. And he was extra determined about sharing that with the people that he believed in. When he moved to the Bay Area, we began to collaborate a lot on music. He was one of the first people to show me how to use Ableton and show me how to put together a DJ set. I remember him standing behind my shoulder in the booth at the first time I ever DJ'd. It was a party that Jay Lee put together. He was just, checking to make sure that I wasn't fucking up, which I definitely did quite a bit. But it was still really fun. I had a very unique experience getting to create music with Dylan. He would put together cool sounds and samples and drum beats and things that he thought complemented each other well. And then he would let me compose them in a way that my musical and my technical brain could make sense of. Much like a painter, he would create the palette of colors and I would do the painting. And then we would switch roles. I just remember a lot of nights kicking it with him and exploring sounds, exploring music. Sometimes he would just come to my studio, hang out on the couch and do art while I made beats. He thrived in the creative energy. He wanted to be near it at every opportunity that he could get.
With music being my life passion and now a career for me, I look back at our time spent together in the studio, and it was some of the most fun and inspiring for me to date. At times when I felt like what I was doing wasn't cool and my creative craft didn't fit in, he pushed me to see the greatness and the uniqueness in what I had to offer to the world. I know he did this with so many other people. Ever since he's passed, I've come to hear more and more about how this was his MO, this was his thing. His dedication to uplifting, motivating, and inspiring his people was unparalleled. It was only matched by his drive to improve himself at every corner. Dylan's passing is as tragic as ever, but one thing I know certainly is that he inspired so many people on a high level, and he left us with many, many gifts that we can be grateful for and keep in our hearts forever. I love you, Dylan, and I love you all. Thank you so much.
Hi. I wanted to first read something from my sister. She can't come up here and do it, so I'm going to do hers first. This is from my sister. Dylan was my best friend, a title I'd given him since we dated. Sometimes in moments I would reveal that I thought he could definitely be my soulmate, not because we were romantically in love, but because even through time and space, we remained tethered to one another. We weren't the most kind to one another when we dated, but over time learned how to love each other and at the proper pace. I mean, who gets matching and more tattoos after they break up? When you quit wanting someone to be what you need and instead love them for who they are, it's easy to love them forever. Dylan's honesty was something I adored, she adored, we adore. Even when his frankness hurt my feelings, I valued knowing he couldn't hide his opinion from me to cater to my sensitivity. We saw things in a similar way, but from opposing views. But the definition of opposite is the same, just seen at a different angle. He searched outward while I searched inward, and often I joked about this polarity and what kept the balance in the universe. I often joked that this polarity is what kept the balance in the universe. In the last year, and especially in the last months before his death, I spoke to him almost every day, either a voice message, which he got me addicted to, a text, or a call to remind him I cared. People cared, and he wasn't alone. I feel fortunate to know he couldn't escape the knowledge that I loved him. Even while feeling at his lowest points, he offered me advice and reminders that I should recognize my worth and specialness. He often thanked me for showing him such care, and I would just say I'm treating him the way he treats me. Of course, I have the feeling that I should have done more. But as with everything throughout his life, Dylan did shit his own way. And as hard as it is to accept, I must respect that he wanted to restart this journey. I told Dylan he was like a color I'd never seen before, but knew it was my favorite. He often introduced me as the person who shifted his way of thinking or started him on his path to the artist he was. But I find myself once again saying I wouldn't be where I am now if he hadn't encouraged, listened, and supported me along the way. He'll always be tethered to my soul, just at a greater distance now. This is from me. One time I was stuck out in the desert with some ladies. And while we were out there, Gracie like beckoned down like the spirits on this like mountain. These donkeys were out, snowing. It was Death Valley. And she taught me this, and I often say this kind of prayer with my son whenever I feel like I need to clear the space or that I need to be protected. And so I want to share that as the beginning of this. All those spirits that are here to protect us, thank you. All those spirits that are not here to protect us, please leave and head to the light and transmute into love. Dylan, Dominique Dilkins, Dylon. I haven't got there yet. May these spirits carry you safely and protect you. The first time I met Dylan, I think it was like 2003, Jiggy took me to a party. It's like the coolest kid party. And I was like, what the fuck? And then like, there was Lafa in a suit, and like, Danny's probably wearing the same outfit right now. And Dylan was wearing a red basketball jersey and a bandana covering like half his face, and his hair was all shaggy, and he had like the slouch, and that he took to the end. I was like, wow. I quickly became like best friends with these guys, this squad, and what an adventurous, extremely memorable, almost 2 decades it has been and will be continuing on. The Gaia tribe, the Warriors. Dylan was part of my best memories of going to college parties and like checking out the furniture and like which one we were gonna steal and like take to Burning Man. Which we would all go out as a crew, and then we'd be like, yeah, that's the one. And then we'd like return it to like a different person's like sorority or frat, just be like, there you go, Dusty. Obviously, that was a good time. We did a lot of harmless debauchery, dance parties, lots of dance parties, more dance parties, lots of dance parties. Burning Man, Emergency, could go on for days. The Convertible, Gapers, Thugaboo, watching him paint with my sister on stage in perfect harmony. We were really tight. Us Gaia tribe, Warriors, light beings, galloping, skipping through thick, oozy plains of growing up and barely breathable air. Dylan. Okay. Sorry. Beautiful mind in between those eyes. Feel your feelings, you say. Call the queens out, 'cause they deserve it. Laugh like no one is listening. Dance like everyone is watching and make it extra silly. Listen, 'cause they need it. We need it. Need, take. Give until it's draining, leaving no reason to live. I get it. But now, we got work to do. Now is the work. And maybe you fly amongst the clouds. Hold on a second. Just lost the page. You fly amongst the clouds, the sunlight sky, becoming one with the stars, circling the moon. We will eternally cruise in the homemade convertible, stay up to see all the rainbow sunrises, and heckle every sleep-deprived soul out there. Run through the desert. Run through the woods. Dance through the desert. With zero cares in the universe, shining amongst the stars, forever galactic. Everyone loved you like the Titanic, hoping you would pick them to join your journey, breaking hearts oh so gently, not intentionally. And we got this, doesn't go too far when you don't got it, and we don't now, but it's okay. It's okay to feel. We did get the message. It can be dark and it can be painful. When I close my eyes at night and I contemplate, I see you. I feel that pain. Left when someone you love is no longer there, like grasping for a mother's arms to make everything all right, only to find that there's a tiny child inside and that child is alone. I thought love heals all, but I'm not so sure. You were loved fiercely by so many, you touched so many hearts, and authentically listened and chose to be present, even to strangers. Everyone around you felt honored. Everyone around you felt honored. Heard, loved. Everyone felt honored, except somehow you didn't feel honored. Was it that we became too far apart from one another, too far from the source, too lost in our habits, losing consciousness? Is it because you could see we had lost touch with our truths, too lost for you to tell us your truths? Or was it self-love that took a wrong turn, hyper-focused on perfection that could not be met, obsessed with sobriety that became sobering? Was it living alone in the pain felt when losing your mama? Although it's so natural to feel so much of everything when you're losing your number one. Sorry. Okay. I saw you right after Lorna escaped her pain. Maybe a week after, we had some Italian food in Applegate. I had some Montepulciano, you had O'Doul's. We both got super stoked to eat some gluten. You asked me about Golden, I tried to make you smile. You told me the story of Lorna suffering from her Parkinson's, begging you to give her something to end her struggling with the Western medicine society. And I couldn't even help. You had expressed being so torn up by so many things. The lack of compassion in the medical world, the pain that forced your mother to walk in the path of a semi. You expressed empathy for the driver of the truck who was traumatized from the experience. You wanted to create awareness around the right to die and mentioned your platforms, your podcast, but how can you make a difference? I heard your voice run in circles about having to go through all of our things, feeling super overwhelmed, how you needed help, but didn't know what kind of help or how to ask, and I offered and you declined. It was just too much to process. When the day of your number one came, your number one's day of celebration, Lorna's day of celebration, it was in the middle of COVID. Had to be remote, it wasn't like this. There was no hugs, there was no flowers, there's a plant. There's no closeness. None of this that we have right now. Your friends that you needed so close, but they were so far. And you chose to be alone, and you chose to grieve alone, and you felt alone. I will forever contemplate as you fly amongst the clouds, the sunlit sky, becoming one with the stars. Circling the moon, we will internally cruise in that homemade convertible, stay up to see all the rainbow sunrises, and heckle all the sleep-depping souls. We will run and we will dance with zero cares, and you will shine amongst those stars, forever galactic, forever free. Dylan.
Shook! I'm freaking shook! I remember Dylan telling me he was shook. And I'm trying to stop shaking right now, but it's hard to shake it. I'll take a bunch. Dylan. Dominique Dilkins, DP, Dylan, Thailand. Daytona. When he had the like long mullet, stash, peppermint, salt and pepper stash. That was Burning Man. Call me Daytona. Governor 210tron. That's a deep dig. That was early. Refry McBottom Shelf. Posting outside the venue, just pulling refries out of the ashtray. Dilkins. We all know Dilkins. Tiger Fresh. Dylan DeMarcus. Dylan Marcus Peterson. My guy. My guy. What a guy he was. I met Dylan in high school 20-ish years ago. And right away, I knew he was special. And we clicked, just right off the bat. Early on, our friendship revolved around talking about metaphysics, dancing to house music, talking about esoteric philosophy, hip-hop. We used to freestyle for hours. Dylan on some like, I wakey bakey and then I get naked. Got the bread loaf flaky, hit the blunt stall fakey. Paramahansa Yogananda with the prism. Break out the prism, got the grade A jism. My dude was a pioneer. Always meshing styles. Always hilarious. Always weaving worlds and being a natural trendsetter. Always riding the line and blazing his own trail. Constantly pushing the boundaries and not giving a fuck. With a general disregard for what you thought was cool or what you thought was acceptable. Many people have already spoke of when he started to lose his hair and shaved the whole top of his head and kept the bottom and dyed it red. Who else? Like really, who else would do that? That takes balls. Dylan was bold. He was cool. Dylan was the definition of cool. The coolest cucumber. Pickled. My dude. Dill pickle. Anyways, like I was saying, we'd freestyle back in the day for hours until the sun came up. And then Dylan would gather everyone and be like, all right, we're doing a sun salutation. So we'd all try to wobbly, do some Shwar yoga as the sun was coming up. Grounding ourselves. Preparing for mimosas. And of course, sleep-deprived stunts. General debauchery, shenanigans. Usually we're talking maybe a off the roof onto a dilapidated mini trampoline, Dominic Dawes 360 dismount onto a little kid's pink bicycle, with some streamers going off the back, off a little 6-inch jump made out of rotten wood. Whee! Yeah, we got this for sure. Or maybe mid-conversation, drunken Olympic sprint over the sleeping kid, off the roof again, into like a tree bush thing, and then like fall, slide 20 feet, and miraculously land on his feet. Dylan was an untamed daredevil with cat-like physical prowess. In our early Eugene days, both Dylan and I read a book by Ram Dass called Grist for the Mill. One of the things that always stuck with me from this book is the idea that in our experience on this earth, everything is in divine order. It's perfect. It's exactly as it should be. It's a difficult thing to understand. At first, and even still, I struggled with how that could be. It's hard to stomach that it was time for Dylan to go. It feels early. I assumed we'd have many more years together and be able to look back in our 90s, laugh at the wild stunts we pulled in our early years. But nah, my homie dipped. Apparently it was his time. At first I was shocked, confused, mad. But as I've sat more and more with it, in this weird reality that we're in, I've realized that everything is in divine order. This tragedy was written in the cards. It's part of the story. It was meant to be. In fact, in hindsight, it's weirdly obvious to me. Look at the change way back to the infatuation with wearing all black. Look at the art, the skeletons, the coffins, the reaper, the sickle. I mean, I look at his final IG profile pic. It seems like these things were signs from his soul telling us, peace, I'm on my way out, and I'm not afraid of what's next. The way that he portrayed this in his art is so beautiful. A comical, playful, cool take on death. Bart Simpson, skull, with the face tattoos. It's unique. It's easy to feel like we didn't get to say goodbye and like his departure was way too abrupt. But I also find it really intriguing that so many of us got to drop in with Dylan and console him and tell him that we love him before he left. I know we saw a show of hands earlier, like a bunch of us got to talk to him, got to drop in, got a call. Like, who in the last year got to talk to Dylan? That's way more than I can say have talked to me in this room in the last year. It's amazing, really. I just try to comprehend the amount of time that he spent speaking with his fam. Coincidence or divine order? We didn't know it when we were talking with him at the time, but this was his soul saying, yo, it's nice to run into you on this plane. Thank you for the dance. I'm about to dip. Catch you on the flip side, fam. Don't get me wrong. The fact that everything is in divine order doesn't change the fact that it hurts for us here on this side. It's painful. It's incredibly sad. It feels tragic. This is an L for all of us. An L, of course, is a loss. And by all means, this is a huge loss for all of us. But an L is also a lesson. And I'm sure we all learned so much from Dylan. I learned how to be a fearless creator, how to consistently reinvent myself, how to be confidently unique, how to be focused, and how to be disciplined. Dylan was love. I think we all felt that. I feel incredibly blessed to have gotten the time that I did. It sucks that we had to lose him to realize it. But now looking back, I see that early on, Dill gave me the permission I needed to be a weirdo. For real. The foundation of like a dude to bounce off of, like, it doesn't matter. Do you? He gave me permission to be funky, permission to be different. He was a cohort in divine debauchery and delightful disruption. Dylan was a stoic leader, eccentric wizard, boss, innovator, chameleon, dynamic creative, with the best DNA in all the land, and the most incredible jawline. This existence definitely won't be the same without your physical presence, but best believe your vibes live on strong, my dude. Thankfully, it was prolific AF, and his legacy of amazing art, intelligence, and idiosyncratic catchphrases lives on for all of us to tap into at any time. You most certainly left us all the keys to the bakery, my guy. I'm gonna keep this Baryshnikov popping for you. Know what I'm saying? Oh, fuck yeah, baby. Can I get all fuck yeah, baby? 1 billion. Love you, Dylan. Thank you for everything.
Man, it's been amazing to hear everyone share and just have you all here. We're gonna switch things up a little bit. I'd like to have a song that Dylan's dad composed be played, and then we're gonna have Charlie play some piano, and then I'm gonna come on and do my piece, and then finish with my mother. So let's play that song. So Dylan's cousin wasn't able to make it, and she gave me a poem she'd like me to read. So I'm going to start with that from Julie Holloway. There is a window of time when the stitches that bind leave a mark on your life, that leave a clear sign, like the fruit that they bear, that have illuminated the way, like the love that they gave you to brighten each day. The story they leave will never be lost. It starts all over at a simple cost. We honor the legacy they left behind, the stitches that bind, the hardest of times, the strength to move onward, the love that they gave, the path that will ultimately light the way. The legacy, the life, the stitches that bind, come with a cost when you say goodbye. You make that choice in the blink of an eye, to leave, to live in the moment, or to say goodbye, to take the gift that came with the cost, to remind yourself that love was not lost. As I look out into this crowd, I can truly see just how many people loved and cared for Dylan. And I just want to thank all of you for showing up and being here. You know, it's been extremely challenging to lose, you know, our brother and best friend. And just having you guys here really means everything, you know. So thank you guys for showing up. Dylan, you are one of the greatest teachers, friends, artists, and leaders, and we will never forget the gifts you gave us and the legacy you left behind. I'm so thankful I had the last 9 years with you in the Bay and all those years from high school forward. And man, we had some good times together, as you can clearly see with all these great stories. Hanging out in the garage, my brother had turned into a little DJ wonderland, and taking lunch breaks from school, we would literally like pile into Drew's car, shoving kids in the trunk, and just go over to my house and hang out and mix records and just chill. And you know, Dylan and Lawful were always like the really cool kids, and like I was like a little nerd, so it was like, it was sweet to like build this community, you know, like because they accepted me, and we really built something special together in those years. You know, we had way too much fun dancing till sunrise at all those underground raves, and just like, the most fun. Like it was like a golden era for us. And as I share those stories with other people, it's like not a lot of people had that community that we had, you know, not a lot of people like really had this connection that, you know, we have in this room. And like, that was super special. And we really, I feel like Eugene was a very like creative hotspot for that. And so I'm just so thankful that, we all grew up here and we're back here to celebrate Dylan. Man, we used to float the river each summer, wander the 8 and Country Fair, I snuck him into Burning Man one time. Obviously we know he's a pro stuntman. Bike rides on the Deep Playa at sunrise, watching him build his DJ career and bring that authentic sound to the world, and even watching him learn how to tattoo upstairs in my house. It was special, and I'm just super thankful to have been there in Dylan's life and to have shared all those moments, those deep philosophical conversations, the laughs and adventures. Each morning when I go out onto my deck, I think back on those pep talks we always used to give one another. I remember 4 years ago, Dylan gave me some advice that really lifted me out of one of those rock bottom moments. He simply turned to me and said, It's going to take a lot more than that to stop Triangle Man. You know, it was direct and to the point, but it stuck with me, and I really took it to heart. And I started doing yoga and like watching the Qigong video that he put me onto. He was always just like a wealth of knowledge. He was like, anytime I was on a drive, it was like, Dylan, what book should I listen to? Or like anything like that. And that gave me strength and helped me build back up and get through that. You know, his inspiration to push forward, to be strong and make health and wellness a non-negotiable is one of the attributes I will always remember. Yet it's also one of the things that made it difficult for us to see the level of pain he must have been experiencing after losing his grandmother Pat, his mother Lorna, and finally the loss of a relationship he had put all his hopes on. He really did reach out to many of us in these last months, and we had the hard talks and motivational moments that I wish could have mended his heart. Dylan, I will never forget what you taught us. Your diligent work ethic to create daily inspiration to kick more ass at life, make health practices and working out an essential routine, to keep reading and learning, to write what's real in our hearts and be brave enough to share it, to keep pushing till we get to that waterfall so we can yell at the top of our lungs and live that moment to the fullest. Your bravery to extinguish a fire that would have burned our house down and then just brush it off as if it was just automatic was unforgettable to me, you know? It was just like, no big deal. And, you know, that's how I felt when, you know, all this went down and I got that call. I was just like, this is automatic. Like, I'd do anything for Dylan. Yeah, and I'm so glad you're all here yet again. And, you know, Dylan Peterson, Governor Ragatutin, Dilkins, Tiger Fresh, Dylan DeMarcus, you changed our lives and world for the better. We love you, we forgive you, and I look forward to carrying the teachings you gave us forward in this life and beyond. Which brings me to the Buddhist philosophy that speaks to the refinement of the soul through many lifetimes. You know, Dylan really did follow Buddhism. That was one of the books we found by his bedside when we first went into his loft. And, you know, I thought back to those core teachings, and that brought a lot of peace to my heart, you know, knowing that it might not have been this lifetime, but, you know, we're going to see Dylan in the next. And, you know, it's not about like, you know, it's just, he meant so much to us, and we love him so, so dearly. And while I just couldn't accept it and I was just in so much shock, you know, I just have to remember that, you know, if it's not this lifetime, it's going to be the next. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I like put this piece up, because it's like, it already shows you Dylan's like on the next intergalactic dimension and level. And, you know, he's already in all these other realms. And I brought all these pieces from his home. Every piece up here is something Dylan had in his house. And I'm just so, yeah, I feel so grateful to have known Dylan. And just looking back on all his art over here, just seeing all the different eras, the people who inspired, the pieces that like Marlise and him painted together, Rachel, you know, Sonny here. It's just, I mean, he's irreplaceable. And we're just never going to forget him. And I just can't thank you all enough.
Wow. There's a part of me that feels that you have already said everything that I've prepared. And I'm so grateful to you for the depth of your love, for your commitment to life. But I was asked to prepare a few words, so I will share those with you now. I hope that these words will bring comfort and support to you as you continue your own unique path and process with grief. I hope they will empower you to live your life with joy, making a difference during this gift of time you have on our planet. Grief is one of the most important emotions of being human, and it demands a response. It will not be ignored. When we all heard the news of Dylan's death, our hearts were shattered in that instant, and grief moved so swiftly to the core of our being, and we couldn't stop it. Grief, though, is the most transformative power and emotion in the universe, as the act of grieving honors life. Grief taps into the movements of longing and treasuring, which are the movements that transform society and bring healing so that all life can flourish. As grief continues to wind its way through our lives, in the coming weeks and months, and maybe even years, we may wonder if it will ever leave. But there is no timetable or any instructions on how to make this journey. It's unique to each one of you, and it will take the time that it takes. We are invited to engage in the depths and the heights of human life, and each of us will have a unique experience. And my friends, as we walk this path, I want you to know that our brokenness will be healed. Our time of mourning will turn to a time of dancing. We will discover many gifts along this path of healing. Happiness, joy, strength, a sense of justice, a willingness to do what we thought could not be done. We will find compassion, kindness, and a deeper experience of love. We will become a gift of healing for others and the earth because of the grief that we are experiencing. In the Book of Joy, the Dalai Lama teaches that, quote, painful experiences shine the light on the nature of happiness and joy. The pain brings appreciation for life and the ability to embrace joy. He says, grief causes us to reach out to one another, which you've done today. He goes on to say, to seek support and solidarity. It's in the hard times, the painful times, the sad and the grief that knit us more closely together. We try hard to separate joy and sorrow into their own little boxes, And the Dalai Lama says, they're inevitably fastened together. He invites us to, quote, sit with our grief, linger in the longing, the loss, the yearning, as a way of feeling the rich and embroidered texture of life, the torn cloth of our world that is endlessly being ripped and rewoven. Many faith traditions, philosophers, and even world leaders speak of grief and the joy and new life that come when we gather as community and live in community. From the Islamic faith we read, treat people in such a way and live amongst them in such a manner that if you die, they will weep over you. Alive, they crave for your company. Golden Meir, Israel's prime minister, said it a little bit differently. She said, those who do not know how to weep with their whole heart don't know how to laugh either. We're here because of Dylan and the life that we've shared with him. We've come today to weep over him because of the way he lived. We came to remember the good times, the laughter, and share our grief and our joy. He made a difference to each one of us. Friends, he made his mark, and you carry it with you. In Taoism, we read, birth is not a beginning. Death is not an end. There is existence without limitation. There is continuity without a starting point. Existence without limitation is space. Continuity without a starting point is time. There is birth. There is death. There is issuing forth. There is entering in. That through which one passes in and out without seeing its form. That is the portal of God. According to this teaching, Dylan did not have a beginning, nor has his life ended. He simply stepped into the portal of God once again, the place that has no beginning and no end, the place where the spirit of love is an unending story. Dylan spent 38 years on earth. During that time, he learned to walk, to talk. He grew and developed. He became a man. He struggled, felt pain, cried when he was hurt. He felt anger and shed tears. And he felt compassion and love. Dylan is still giving his gifts, even though we cannot speak to him nor hug him. He is with us. He will continue to be with us, popping into our minds and hearts in the most unexpected moment. From what I've heard here, he did that quite well. He will jump out at us during a song. We may find him quietly emerging from a painting as a silent recognition in a book or during a memory that we're sharing. And so today we end our time together as a community that has been held in this holy space. We have taken a step in healing our grief and embracing the joy he brought to our lives. We have honored the life of Dylan, the way he lived, the gifts he gave us during his time on earth. Chris? Beryl, there you are. I couldn't find you. We're going to join in singing Let It Be, and then we'll have a benediction.
Yeah, I invite you all to sing with us. I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. In my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be.
And when the broken hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be,
Let it be, let it be. Whisper words an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. When the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow, let it be. Wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be.
May you go out from this place and live life to the fullest, the way that Dylan did, as you follow his example and live with a sense of adventure and determination. Go in peace.